With the unfortunate imminent closure of California's Great America in Santa Clara, soon Six Flags Discovery Kingdom is going to be the only major theme park in Northern California outside of Santa Cruz and Gilroy Gardens. And in this video, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on this park. I've visited this park 3 or 4 times, but up until last week, I hadn't been there in 7 long years. So it was really exciting to see what improvements Six Flags Discovery Kingdom hopefully had made. And right off the bat, one thing I do want to say is that this park has a great first impression and skyline. When you drive by the park or while walking up to the park, there are just so many rides and roller coasters that you walk right past. It makes a very cool impression and gets you excited for your day. This park is kind of split up into 2 parts. The front half is mostly where the roller coasters are, and the back half is mostly where the animals are. Because of this, as a general rule, the front of the park is usually busier. So if you want to get away from the hustle and bustle of the front of the park, you can go check out some of the animals in the back of the park. Discovery Kingdom is nowhere near as focused on animals as they used to be, but it's still a cool dynamic to have rides and animals in the same park. They also have multiple different shows with animals as well. From what I can tell, tickets for this park hover around the $50 to $70 mark depending on the day and season. Speaking of events, this park of course has Fright Fest as their main seasonal event. I've never been to a Fright Fest at a Six Flags park, but from what I've gathered, these times of year are especially busy, so just keep that in mind. Now, touching on the arrival experience, I have to give this park major props. Because on our most recent visit, the security check was lightning fast. It's a touchless system where if the metal detector doesn't beep at you, then you can just continue walking, which really speeds up the entire process. And once you get inside, you're greeted to a pretty nice entry plaza. For comparison's sake, the one at CGA is much better, but I digress. Discovery Kingdom looks just fine when you walk in. If you want to go to DC Universe, you'll go to the left. If you want to go to Medusa, you'll go to the right. DC Universe is packed with coasters, and generally speaking, it looks pretty nice even if it has 0 theming. That is the one thing I would improve for sure. With that being said though, the park's best ride, Joker, is located in this section. Joker is an RMC hybrid coaster that is typically regarded as one of the weaker RMC hybrids, but is still absolutely fantastic. You get half a dozen great airtime pops along with 2 really good hang time moments. This roller coaster is also glass smooth, which really helps the ride experience too. This is definitely the most popular ride at the entire park, so I would say get there early if you can. Unfortunately, on our visit, we did go here first and the ride had technical issues, and we ended up waiting around way too long, wasting a bunch of time. But still, that was just an unlucky thing. No matter when you get on it, it is the best roller coaster in the park for sure. Located across the midway, you can find Superman Ultimate Flight, the premier ride Skyrocket 2. This shuttle coaster has a pretty short and simple layout, but boy is it fun. You want airtime? You got it. That first vertical ascent will give you good airtime along with the vertical drop on the other side. You want hang time? You've got it. That slow motion inversion has killer hang time. It also has a fun swing launch sequence and a non-inverting loop, along with it being a very smooth experience with just a lap bar. Overall, very fun and very popular attraction. Next up, we should talk about the S&S 40 Free Spin Batman the Ride. Six Flags made it a game of seeing how many of these roller coasters they could add to their parks. But for Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, I actually think it's a good addition. Outside of X2, which is pretty different, there really isn't anything else like Batman in the area. And Batman can give an unpredictable ride experience. I rode this roller coaster twice, and on my first ride, we only flipped 1 or 2 times, but on my second ride, we flipped multiple times right off the lift. If you go in not quite sure what to expect, like I did, then you'll have a fun time. Flipping over to the other side of the park, Medusa is undoubtedly the star of the show. This is an absolutely awesome B&M floorless coaster. It flips you upside down 7 times, is extremely smooth, and the ride just feels like it keeps on going. B&M did a masterful job with this layout with the inversions, helixes, and drops. It's too bad that we only had time for one ride because it was truly a good experience. And as of now, one of my favorite looping coasters I've ever been on. Located nearby is Con, which exists. I didn't ride this coaster because of A, limited time, and B, I didn't want to have a headache for the rest of the day, because I've heard this is one of the worst roller coasters in the entire world, so take that as you will. You can also find a family coaster nearby with Cobra Vizier Creation. The craziest thing about this ride is how ridiculously long the train is, but other than that, it's a pretty solid family coaster. Mild forces, but it's pretty smooth and very good for kids. I remember when I was younger, this roller coaster was the highlight of my day, which just goes to show that it is a good coaster for kids and families. Heading in the back of the park, you can find one more roller coaster that flips you upside down, Boomerang Coast to Coaster. This is a coaster that, for me, has significant pros and cons. On the one hand, the drops are fun and the inversions have good force to them, but on the other hand, this is not a very smooth ride nowadays. It's kind of rattly, and exiting and entering the Cobra roll, you may or may not hit your head on the restraint. So for Boomerang, kinda meh for me personally. I did enjoy it, but at the same time, it was not a perfect ride by any means. A coaster I did have a lot of fun on though was Sidewinder Safari. This coaster was added this year, and while it was supposed to open a few years ago, you know what happened there. At any rate, this ride is very enjoyable. It's got some okay laterals and okay drops at the start, but the second half I think is where this ride really shines, with the spinning and small dips. It's a cool twist on a normal Wild Mouse roller coaster, especially because those rides are so common. I also really have to give Six Flags a round of applause for this ride's appearance, because while it doesn't really have much theming, I think it looks very nice in its current spot. Before, this was a spot where you could go ride on an elephant, which was a cool and a unique experience, but Sidewinder Safari feels so much more natural in that section of the park, and it looks much nicer. So yeah, I really like this addition. The park also has a kiddie coaster from Zamperla as well, Roadrunner Express. It's just your standard Zamperla family gravity coaster, so it's nothing too special. Outside of the roller coasters though, is where I think Discovery Kingdom's ride lineup starts to suffer a little bit. As far as water rides go, they have a splash battle and a shoot the chutes, but they're missing a log flume, which I think really hurts. I think adding a log flume would be a huge boost to this park's ride lineup, especially because they don't have a water park or anything like that to compensate. As far as flat rides go, this again is a pretty standard collection. They have a 150 foot tall swing ride in Sky Screamer, which is quite good for the views. And for the thrills, you can do the pendulum ride Wonder Woman. I didn't ride this, but it seemed to be a very popular attraction with guests. This was the ride people seem to be talking about most, not Joker, the pendulum. I do think it would help if Discovery Kingdom invested in a drop tower. I know the one I'm showing here, Supreme Scream at Knott's Berry Farm, is above the height limit that Vallejo has in 150 feet, but even a short drop tower would be a good addition. And of course, a wild card this park has is the animals. I think my favorite exhibit is the shark exhibit. It's a little more unique because you go through this moving tunnel with water on all sides. And it's pretty neat to see these fish swimming right up next to you. And then when you exit the tunnel into the room beyond, you get possibly an even better view into the fish tank. My personal opinion is that if you're going to go to one of the animal exhibits, go to this one. As far as food is concerned, don't expect too much, but there are a few decent options. We got burrito bowls from the Macho Nacho restaurant, and that kind of reminded me of a poor man's version of Chipotle, but it was still pretty good nonetheless. Other than that though, you have your classic theme park food. And let's just be honest, no one is going to Six Flags Discovery Kingdom for the food offerings. Okay, one thing we should discuss is operations. So in the past, ops have been awful, and I've heard stories about how terrible this park's operations are. However, on the day of our visit this year, and hopefully this wasn't just a one-off thing, operations were actually pretty solid. Does this mean the park has improved in this department over the last couple years, or does it just mean we got lucky? I'm not totally sure, but no matter the case, I'll take it. Before this most recent visit, I would have told you that my biggest problem with this park is indeed the operations. But that isn't really a huge complaint of mine anymore for now. So hopefully our experience is a teller of what the operations are usually like nowadays, and that we just didn't get it on a very good day. This park does not do well in the theming department though. Like, the boomerang is basically themed to Twix, so yeah. It's Six Flags, that's all I can tell you. One final thing I will note about this park is that it's not flat in all places. There is definitely some hilly terrain, so just keep that in mind. But overall, do I recommend visiting Six Flags Discovery Kingdom? Yes. I think this park has the better coaster collection than California's Great America. I still don't know which park I prefer as a whole though. If you're coming for immersive experiences, then don't even bother coming here. But if you're going here for some roller coasters and maybe some animals, then yeah, you'll have a fun time. I don't think I'd say this park excels at anything, but it does well in multiple areas. And this park has a terrific 1-2 punch on that coaster lineup. Joker and Medusa are both amazing rides and would be worth the price of admission alone, but this park has much more to offer than just their top 2 roller coasters. And yeah, I think you should come visit Six Flags Discovery Kingdom.